Warren Buffett buys once and then waits. The hidden power of patience in investing. Have you ever wondered why Warren Buffett, one of the richest men on earth, often buys a stock just once and then does nothing? No chasing trends. No panic selling. No constant flipping. Just one smart move and years of waiting. It sounds too simple to be true. But behind that simplicity lies one of the most powerful wealth-building strategies the world has ever seen. What does Buffett know that most investors don't? And more importantly, why does doing less actually earn you more? Let's unlock the mindset of the Oracle of Omaha and reveal why patience isn't passive, it's a weapon. Part 1. The Buffett Mentality. Why doing nothing can make you rich. Imagine this. You're staring at a stock chart. Prices rise and fall every second. News headlines scream, "Buy now," or "Sell before it's too late." Your fingers itch. Your heart beats faster. You want to act. You feel like you have to act. But Warren Buffett just sits there, unmoved, unbothered. In fact, he might go months, even years, without making a single trade. Because Buffett isn't just investing with money. He's investing with mindset. The quiet power behind his billions. Let's bust a myth right now. Buffett didn't become one of the richest men alive by trading daily, chasing trends, or riding crypto waves. He did it by making surprisingly few decisions, but making them with incredible precision. The big money is not in the buying and selling, but in the waiting. Warren Buffett. That single sentence holds a truth that 99% of investors never fully grasp. Buffett isn't trying to win every battle. He's trying to win the war. He's not looking for fast gains, he's building forever wealth. And the craziest part? He makes it look boring. Boring? Or brilliant? Buffett reads for hours every day. He studies balance sheets. He obsesses over a company's fundamentals. He waits. And waits. And then just once. One bold move. One clear decision. One purchase. And then, silence. No panic selling. No second guessing. No compulsive checking. He trusts the work he did before he bought. And that's what separates Buffett from the crowd. The mental game most investors lose. Here's the part most people miss. Investing isn't about information. It's about behavior. You could know all the right things. You could even buy the right stock. But if you can't stay calm when it drops, if you sell too early, too emotionally, too often, you lose. That's why Buffett always says, the stock market is a device for transferring money from the impatient to the patient. Let that sink in. The impatient pay the patient. Buffett wins not because he's smarter, but because he's more disciplined. Why he buys only what he understands. Here's a question. Why doesn't Buffett invest in tech startups, flashy trends, or Bitcoin? Simple. He only invests in what he understands. If he can't explain how a company makes money in one sentence, he won't touch it. Because to him, investing isn't gambling. It's owning a piece of a real business, one he'd be proud to hold for 10, 20, even 30 years. Would you hold your current investments for 30 years? Or are you secretly hoping to get out next week? There's your clue. How many stocks does Buffett actually own? Here's another surprise. Despite being worth over $100 billion, Buffett doesn't own hundreds of stocks. Nope. He keeps a focused portfolio. And most of his wealth is concentrated in just a few major holdings, like Apple, Coca-Cola, and American Express. Because he believes in going deep, not wide. If a business is truly great, you don't need 50 others to hedge your bets. You just need to wait. Still think doing nothing is lazy? Here's what Buffett understands. Time is the most powerful investor in the world. He's not sitting still. He's letting compounding do the heavy lifting. He's not doing nothing. He's doing the hardest thing of all, staying patient. And here's the kicker. That patience has earned him more than most people will see in 10 lifetimes. But here's the question. If the secret is this simple, why don't more people do it? That's what we'll uncover in the next part. Because the truth is, most people can't wait, even when they know they should. And the reason why might shock you. Stay tuned for part 2, why most people can't wait and what it's costing them. Part 2, why most people can't wait. The hidden cost of impatience. You know the secret. Warren Buffett waits. He buys once, and then he does nothing for years. And it works. So here's the real question. If it's that simple, why doesn't everyone do it? Why don't people just copy Buffett's style, hold tight, and let compounding take over? Because, and this is uncomfortable, most people aren't wired to wait. The prison of now. We live in a world built to steal your patience. Social media rewards you instantly. Apps buzz with notifications. Same-day delivery. One-click purchases. Autoplay next episode. Everything is fast. Everything screams, don't wait. But the stock market? It doesn't care how fast you want results. It operates on a totally different clock. A wealth clock. One that ticks slowly, but powerfully. And most people can't handle the silence. The psychological trap. Here's the trap nobody talks about. Your brain sees waiting as a threat. It craves action, movement, something to feel like you're in control. That's why investors panic when the market dips. That's why people check their portfolios 5 times a day. That's why they sell great companies too early. I'm doing something, they tell themselves. But in reality, they're reacting, not thinking. And those reactions are expensive. Because every time you jump in and out, you cut off compounding. You miss the big gains. You reset the clock. Buffett versus the crowd. Let's get brutally honest. When Warren Buffett invests, he thinks in decades. When most retail investors buy, they think in days. Maybe weeks. He's planting an orchard. They're microwaving popcorn. Buffett embraces boredom. Most people run from it. But here's the kicker. The real money lives inside the boredom. That quiet stretch, when nothing seems to be happening, that's when the seeds of wealth are silently growing underground. But if you pull them up too soon looking for results, you get nothing. This one chart will haunt you. Let me show you something simple, but devastating. Imagine 2 investors. Investor A buys $10,000 of a great stock and holds for 30 years. Investor B buys the same stock, but sells and rebuys multiple times, trying to time the market. After 30 years, Investor A may have over $150,000. Investor B? Maybe $40,000. Or even less. Because timing mistakes kill returns. Because missing just a few of the best days in the market can erase decades of gains. Because waiting isn't boring, It's a strategy. Why we fear stillness. Here's something deeper. Most people equate stillness with laziness. They feel guilty doing nothing, even when it's the smartest move. But Buffett knows something different. You don't get paid for activity. You get paid for being right. So ask yourself, are you investing or entertaining yourself? Are you building wealth or chasing feelings? That's the difference between Buffett and the rest. The hidden enemy, ego. Let's go one layer deeper. There's another reason people can't wait. Ego. We want to be the hero. We want to say, I bought at the bottom. We want the credit, the glory. But Buffett doesn't care about that. He's not trying to win arguments. He's trying to build legacy. Most investors act to feel smart. Buffett waits to be right. And that's why he keeps winning. The real test isn't knowledge. It's patience. Here's the truth no one wants to hear. Everyone knows what they should do. But only a few can actually do it. Because the hard part isn't picking good stocks. It's sitting on your hands and doing nothing for 10 years while others panic, brag, or buy the hype. The stock market is designed to transfer money from the active to the patient. Buffett again. So ask yourself this. Are you playing the long game or being played by your emotions? But what happens when the market crashes? Now, here's where it gets tricky. Because waiting sounds great in theory. But what happens when the market drops 30%? What happens when fear takes over and everyone's selling? Will you still sit still? Will you still believe in your investments? That's where most people fail. And that's where Buffett's ultimate move comes in. He doesn't just wait. He buys when others are terrified. But how does he know when to act? That's what we'll uncover in part 3. Part 3. Compounding Loves Time. Why getting rich is less about IQ and more about time. There's a force more powerful than intelligence, more powerful than stock-picking skills, more powerful than market timing, hot tips, or flashy trades. It's quiet, invisible, and yet, it's how Warren Buffett built over $100 billion in wealth. That force is compounding. But here's the twist. Compounding doesn't care how smart you are. It only cares about one thing. The most underrated superpower in finance. Let's start with a story. Warren Buffett made 99% of his fortune after his 50th birthday. Not because he suddenly got smarter. Not because he found some secret stock. It's because compounding finally had time to kick in. You see, compounding works like a snowball. Small at first. Barely noticeable. But given enough time, it grows into an avalanche of wealth. And most people? They never get there. Because they interrupt the process. They sell too soon. They jump to the next big thing. They trade short-term thrills for long-term freedom. The compounding curve and why most people miss it. Here's the brutal truth. Compounding doesn't reward you in year 1, 2, or even 10. The real magic happens after decades. In the early years, your portfolio feels stuck. Returns are slow. Gains feel invisible. You begin to question everything. Is this really working? Should I move my money? Am I missing out? But if you hold steady, that curve turns exponential. Year 20. Year 25. Suddenly, the numbers explode. And by then, the game is no longer fair. Because while others are still trying to earn their way to wealth, You're letting time and math do the heavy lifting. Buffett's real genius? He started early. Buffett began investing at age 11. He didn't need superhuman IQ. He needed a head start. And here's the wild part. If Buffett had started investing at 30 instead of 11, even with the same strategy and returns, he wouldn't be a billionaire. Let that sink in. The timing of his start was more powerful than his skill. So what's stopping you? Why we undervalue time and overvalue noise. Modern culture teaches us to chase urgency. Buy the dip. Sell before the crash. Crypto is going to the moon. But compounding doesn't respond to noise. It rewards the patient, the disciplined, the quiet. The problem? Time doesn't shout. It whispers. And in a world addicted to fast returns, whispers get drowned out. But guess who's listening? The wealthy. The long-term thinkers. The Buffettesque investors who don't need dopamine hits. They want results. The eighth wonder of the world. Einstein once called compound interest the eighth wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it. He who doesn't pays it. And yet, most people pay it. They pay it through debt, through impulsive buying, through lifestyle inflation. But the few who earn it, they unlock the hidden engine of wealth. And here's the best part. You don't need millions to start. You just need to start and stay in the game. The real test, can you sit through the boring years? Let's be honest. The first 5 to 10 years of compounding? They're boring. You feel like nothing's happening. The progress feels too slow. But that's the test. Can you sit through the invisible years when growth hides? Because once you pass that test, something shifts. Your money works harder than you do. Your investments throw off more income than your job. You move from survival to freedom. A simple, devastating example. Let's look at two people. Person A starts investing $200 per month at age 25, stops at 35. Person B starts investing $200 per month at 35, continues until 65. At retirement, person A, who only invested for 10 years, will often have more money than person B. Because A gave compounding a 10-year head start. The earlier you start, the more unfair the game becomes, in your favor. So, why don't more people do this? Because the rewards aren't immediate. Because the system isn't built for long-term thinking. Because it's easier to react than to remain steady. But those who master time, who let compounding work without interruption, they don't just get rich, they stay rich. Coming next, the enemy of compounding, interruption. But now you might be wondering, what kills compounding? What are the traps that break the snowball before it can grow? You're about to find out. Because in the next part, we're diving into Part 4, the takeaway for you. And if you think market crashes are the biggest danger, you're in for a surprise. Part 4, the takeaway for you. If you understand this, you'll never look at money the same way again. You've heard the stories. You've seen the charts. Buffett. Compounding. But now, the real question hits home. What does this mean for you? Because here's the truth. It's not just about admiring Warren Buffett's patience. It's about asking, how can I use the same mindset to build unstoppable wealth? And if you think it's too late, too small, too slow, let me show you why that mindset is exactly what keeps most people broke. The game was rigged. until you learn the rules. Let's be brutally honest. Most people never win the wealth game. Not because they're lazy, not because they don't work hard, but because they're playing the wrong game with the wrong rules. They chase hot stocks. They try to time the market. They pour money into trends and pull it out in panic. They think wealth is about effort. But Buffett's strategy whispers a different truth. Wealth isn't about effort. It's about behavior. 3 tiny shifts that separate the rich from the rest. So how do you use this? You don't need a finance degree. You don't need millions to start. You just need 3 mindset shifts. 1. Think in decades, not days. When was the last time you asked, where will I be financially in 20 years? Most people can't answer that. But that's exactly what Buffett asked himself at age 11. If you can stretch your timeline, your stress shrinks and your wealth grows. Because when you think in decades, you don't panic when the market drops. You don't chase the next shiny object. You don't quit when progress feels slow. You play a different game, the long one, the winning one. 2. Prioritize consistency over brilliance. Want to know a secret? Buffett's biggest wins didn't come from brilliant trades. They came from consistent bets that never got interrupted. He didn't need to be perfect. He just needed to show up, stay in, and let time do the rest. Most people get this backwards. They chase perfect and miss persistent. But the rich? They know. Boring gets rich. Flashy gets broke. 3. Make time your business partner. This one's powerful. When you invest with time on your side, you gain a partner that never sleeps, never complains, never stops. Every dollar you plant is a worker. And the longer it works, the more employees it recruits. Before you know it, your money starts making more money than you ever could. That's the turning point. That's when wealth becomes inevitable. Here's what Buffett would tell you today. If Warren Buffett were sitting with you right now, he wouldn't give you a stock tip. He wouldn't talk about the market. He'd say something simple like, start early, be patient, stay the course. Your money will grow if you give it time. And then he'd say something chilling. Most people don't get rich because they can't sit still. So ask yourself, can you sit still? Can you stay in the game long enough to win? Because once you understand compounding, and once you trust time, you're already ahead of 90% of investors. But what if you're starting late? Here's where most people panic. I'm not 11 like Buffett. I'm in my 30s, 40s, 50s. But remember, it's not about when you start. It's about when you stop delaying. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. Because compounding still works, even if you have less time. It just means you need to be even more consistent, even more focused, even more committed. And if you do that, you'd be shocked at how fast the curve starts to bend. The real enemy isn't time, it's you. Let's get real. Time isn't your enemy. It's your greatest ally. The real enemy is distraction. Checking your portfolio 5 times a day. Jumping from stock to stock. Thinking wealth happens in a year. These habits kill your compounding. Not because they're evil, but because they interrupt the snowball. If you want to build Buffett-style wealth, you have to protect your snowball. Relentlessly. So what happens next? You've learned the mental framework. You've seen how Buffett thinks. You've seen why most people never make it, but we're just getting started. Because there's one more secret Buffett never talks about directly. And yet, it might be the biggest reason his strategy works while others fail. It's something hidden behind the scenes. Something about psychology, not just money. In the next part, we'll reveal. Part 5. The Invisible Advantage. Emotional control over financial chaos. If you think investing is about numbers, you're about to discover the truth most millionaires already know. Would you like me to continue writing part 5 now, or would you prefer image prompt suggestions or a bilingual version? Part 5. The Invisible Advantage. Emotional control over financial chaos. Everyone talks about Warren Buffett's intelligence, his value picks, his long-term vision. But very few talk about this. The invisible trait that quietly powers everything else. Because behind every smart investment Buffett ever made, behind every decade he held strong when others sold in panic, there was one force at work: emotional control. And here's the truth you might not want to hear. If you can't master your emotions, you'll never master your money. The market isn't rational, and neither are you. Let's bust a myth. People say the market is unpredictable. But that's not the real problem. The real problem is you. You panic when the market dips. You chase when the market pumps. You check your portfolio during dinner, at traffic lights, before bed. And in those moments, your brain isn't thinking like an investor, it's reacting like a gambler. The result? You buy high, sell low, repeat. Not because you're dumb, but because you're human. Buffett's greatest skill isn't picking stocks. It's controlling himself. Here's a fact that surprises people. Buffett didn't beat the market every year. He didn't always buy the perfect stock. He didn't try to predict recessions or time the next boom. What he did do? He stayed rational when others lost their minds. During dot-com mania, he stayed out. In 2008, while others ran away, he bought in. In market crashes, he stayed calm. That's not just strategy. That's emotional discipline. The 3 enemies of emotional wealth. So what throws you off track? 1. FOMO, fear of missing out. You see friends getting rich on crypto. Your neighbor doubles their money on a meme stock. And suddenly your long-term strategy feels boring. You jump in too late, buy the top, and panic sell at the bottom. Sound familiar? 2. Impatience. You invest $1,000. Next week it's $997. You feel like a failure. But compounding doesn't work on your schedule, it works on its. Wealth doesn't shout. It whispers. And if you can't wait, you'll never hear it. 3. Overconfidence. You win once. You think you're a genius. You forget the market gave it to you, and it can take it back just as fast. Buffett once said, "You don't know who's swimming naked until the tide goes out." And the tide always goes out. Build your emotional armor before the storm hits. Most people try to develop emotional control during the crash. Too late. You need to prepare before chaos arrives. Here's how. Have a plan. Know what you'll do before the market drops. Automate your investments. Remove emotion from the equation. Limit your exposure to noise. Turn off the hype. Stop checking prices daily. Study past market crashes. Understand that pain is part of the game. Because when panic hits, the best investors don't react. They already decided. This isn't just about money. It's about mastery. Here's the twist. Learning to control your financial emotions changes everything else. You become more patient, more resilient, more clear-minded in every area of life. The emotional discipline you build with money becomes a superpower in business, relationships, even health. That's why the wealthy seem calm under pressure. They've trained for chaos. They've practiced stillness. You can too. What Buffett knew that others missed. In 50-plus years of investing, Warren Buffett has never needed to be the smartest guy in the room. He just needed to be the most emotionally steady. While others flinched, he held on. While others chased, he waited. And that one invisible skill? It turned patience into power, and power into billions. So ask yourself, in the next crash, will you panic or will you profit? In the next hype cycle, will you chase or will you choose? Because your answer is your future net worth. Coming next, Part 6. The mistake Buffett never makes. You've seen the strategy. You've felt the mindset. But there's one critical mistake Buffett avoids, over and over, that most investors fall into every single year. And avoiding it could be worth millions to you. The mistake Buffett never makes. Avoiding financial self-sabotage. You won't want to miss this one, because it may just save you from destroying your own financial future without even realizing it. Part 6. The mistake Buffett never makes. Avoiding financial self-sabotage. Let me ask you something uncomfortable. What if the greatest threat to your wealth isn't the market? Not inflation. Not taxes. Not recessions. But you. Most people don't lose money because of a bad economy. They lose it because of bad behavior. Warren Buffett? He knows this. And that's why he never makes the mistake you're about to learn. The silent killer, self-sabotage. We all dream of wealth. But most of us, without even knowing it, build and destroy our financial future at the same time. Here's what it looks like. You build up savings, and then take it all out for a car you don't need. You invest wisely, then pull out early during the first dip. You finally get ahead, then celebrate by spending more than you earned. This isn't a strategy problem. It's a self-sabotage problem. And guess what? Buffett avoids this trap better than anyone. Buffett's #1 rule, and why it matters more than ever. Buffett's most famous quote is, Rule #1, never lose money. Rule #2, never forget rule #1. But that's not about avoiding risk. It's about avoiding your own worst instincts. Think about it. Buffett doesn't try to predict the market. He doesn't obsess over trends. What he does is simple, but powerful. He avoids dumb decisions. Because in investing, it's not about doing everything right. It's about not doing the one thing that ruins it all. 3 self-sabotaging mistakes Buffett avoids that you probably don't. 1. Overtrading. Most people treat investing like a video game. Panic. Trade again. Every click chips away at your returns. Buffett? He once said his ideal holding period is forever. He buys with intention. He doesn't react, he commits. 2. Emotional spending. You had a rough week. So you reward yourself with your future. You chase dopamine now and delay financial freedom later. Buffett lives in the same modest house he bought in 1958. He's a billionaire who still drinks Coca-Cola and eats McDonald's. Not because he's cheap, but because he's disciplined. 3. Ignoring downside risk. Everyone gets excited about upside potential. But what about the downside? Buffett always thinks in terms of risk first. Yes. What if I'm wrong? Can I still sleep at night? Will I be okay if this fails? Most people don't ask these questions until it's too late. Why the rich stay rich? There's a reason wealthy people keep getting wealthier. They don't sabotage themselves when they're winning. Most of us hit a small win and suddenly go backwards. We level up our lifestyle. We stop saving. We relax our discipline. But Buffett? He doubles down on what works. He protects the downside. And he never lets success breed carelessness. That's why he's still compounding wealth in his 90s. While most investors never make it past their first crash. Protect the castle first, then build the empire. You don't need to be brilliant. You just need to stop doing dumb things. Let's be blunt. Most people don't need another course, book, or stock tip. They need to stop setting fire to their own progress. Warren Buffett knows. Wealth isn't just built by what you do. It's protected by what you don't do. So before you chase another shiny opportunity, ask yourself, am I sabotaging myself? If the answer is yes, even just a little, you've already found your biggest risk. Coming next, Part 7. Buffett's Secret Weapon, Time plus Temperament. You've learned what to avoid. But what should you cultivate? In the final chapter, we unpack the one combination that makes Buffett truly unstoppable and why you can build it too. It's not intelligence, not luck, not even strategy. It's a rare mix of two forces that turn small decisions into empires over time. Part 7. Buffett's Secret Weapon, Time plus Temperament. The final piece of the puzzle. And maybe the one that changes everything. Part 7. Buffett's Secret Weapon, Time plus Temperament. Everyone wants Buffett's results. But almost no one wants to do what Buffett does. Because his secret weapon is boring. It's not flashy. It's not viral. But it's more powerful than any hot stock pick. It's a silent force that separates legends from the rest. Time plus temperament. The myth of genius. We love to believe Buffett is a genius. It's comforting to think he's just built different. But Buffett himself says, the stock market is a device for transferring money from the impatient to the patient. That's it. No magic. Just mastery over time and control over emotion. Time. The relentless multiplier. Let's start with time. Everyone talks about compound interest, but few understand what it really means. Compound interest is the only force in finance that obeys exponential math. Buffett didn't make 99% of his fortune until after age 50. By age 60, he was just getting started. Because compounding is slow at first, then suddenly unstoppable. But here's the problem. Most people interrupt the process. They get bored. They switch strategies. They chase something faster. And every time they reset, they kill the momentum. Buffett? He stayed in the game longer than anyone else. And that made all the difference. Temperament. The invisible edge. Now, let's talk about the real superpower, temperament. You can't see it on a chart. You won't find it in financial statements. But it shows up every time things go wrong. Buffett once said, success in investing doesn't correlate with IQ. What you need is the temperament to control the urges that get other people into trouble. That means not panicking in a downturn, not getting greedy in a bull run, not chasing what everyone else is chasing. In other words, you win by staying calm when others lose their heads. The real game, mastering yourself. Let's be real. Most people are playing a different game. They're chasing quick wins, fast flips, hot tips. They're measuring success in weeks, not decades. Buffett's game? It's slow, quiet, disciplined. It's boring until it's breathtaking. But here's the hard truth. You can't play his game if you don't train your temperament. It's not about being fearless. It's about being stable. It's about being predictable to yourself. That's rare. And that's why so few build real wealth. So what can you do? You don't need to be Warren Buffett, but you can learn from him. Here's how. Start early or start now. Time is your ally, but only if you give it enough runway. Stick to simple rules. Buy great assets. Hold them. Don't touch them in fear or excitement. Build temperament like a muscle. Journal your reactions. Study your mistakes. Learn what triggers bad decisions and avoid those situations. Measure in decades, not days. Ask yourself, if I do this for 10 years, will I be proud? The final truth Buffett never shouts. Buffett's life is proof of a radical idea. You don't need to be the fastest. You just need to never stop moving in the right direction. You don't need perfect timing. You need time and the strength to let time work. Because in the end, time plus temperament beats timing plus talent every time. Your Buffett moment starts now. The question isn't whether Warren Buffett is special. The question is, will you follow the path he paved or keep chasing shortcuts that don't exist? Your financial destiny isn't decided by luck. It's shaped by time and tempered by patience. And here's the best part. You can start today. Will you? If this series inspired you, don't just watch it. Like, comment, and share this video with someone who needs to hear it. And if you're ready to build your Buffett mindset, subscribe now. Because this was just one lesson. There's more wisdom coming. And you don't want to miss what's next.